Allie with Potomac Beads. Join me in making this Samos Isle Bracelet. Remember, if you need any materials, check out the links below me in the description to order online from PotomacBeads.com as well as PotomacBeads.eu. Let's get started. So to start this Samos Isle Bracelet, what we're going to do is actually begin with 2 needles on 0.006 wildfire beading thread, and I have the green color that I'm working with. You could add a cup button here, clasp, garnet clasp. I thought it would be simple. I hardly ever use lobsters. I put a lobster on with a wire guard kind of hanging out in the middle. I'm going to go up through the wire guard, down through the wire guard, which is also attached to my clasp. Now I am going to be going up and down this bracelet, so I'll have an opportunity to reinforce. So I do not need to worry about the thread going back through more than one time. You can see I have my hands extended because I want to make sure that my thread on either side still match, and I do have about 4.5 to 5 feet of thread for this. After each side, then you're going to put a 15 on each side of your needle. Then I want you to put an 8 on each needle. Then you're going to put a O bead on each side. I'm using the vintage copper O beads. My 8O is a Miyuki Picasso Garnet. And then what I'm going to do is pick up my first Samos bead. If you're unfamiliar with the Samos, they are 5 by 7 millimeter, 2-holed oval. One side is flat. We're going to keep that rounded side up. I want you to take one needle through the Samos from the right side to the left side, and the other from the left to the right, going through that same first hole, and again making sure that the thread matches on either end. Give a nice tight pull to get those O beads right up to the top. If you need to and it's tight like that, what you want to do is open up your wire guard or your wire protector just a little bit. You can usually do that with your hands, or you can do it with the pliers, but you want to make sure not to squish the actual little channels where the beads come through. Coming out on the side of the Samos bead, it's going to be very, very easy pattern. When you're coming out on the side, you want to do a 15, then an 8, then a 15, and I have a Duracoat galvanized gold. Go up through the second hole of the Samos and from the right to the left side. Everything that's done on one side is done mirror image on the other side. So now on the other side, 15, then an 8, then a 15. From the lower hole now, crisscross to the upper hole through that same second hole of the Samos bead and out to the other side. Give a nice tight pull to make sure you don't have any extra thread showing. From here, with the right hand thread, you're going to add an O bead, a RounDuo Mini in Aztec gold, and an O bead, and a next of your Samos bead. You're going to go through the first hole of the Samos. You're coming through the right hand side. You're going to go in from the bottom right towards the left. Pull that nice and tight so the O bead gets kind of smushed in there. The 8O seed bead will kind of float to the top as we go back and adding our little seed beads to the top design. Again, because I did it on the left or right, I'm also going to do it on the left. Going through then that same bottom hole of the Samos bead. Again, give a nice little tight pull, make sure they're tightly in there, and then coming out, repeat on autopilot. 8 with a 15 on either side, up to the second hole of the Samos bead, and then repeat. You're going to repeat this the whole length of the bottom to be your actual center guide for the bracelet. As you come to the end of the bracelet, it is time to add the clasp on the other side. Now I have my wire guard here. Again, I'm going to kind of open it up a little bit. Always better to do it before you get it on the clasp if you can. I have on one side coming out of my last Samos bead, which I have about 15 Samos on for a nice size wrist, nice average size 7 1/4 wrist. I'm going to, after adding an O bead, an 8, and a 15, with the needle that's in my hand, go up through a wire guard, put some chain, which is going to link into my lobster on the other side, because I'm not sure who I'm making this for yet, so I can cut that down if I need to. Or if I want to cut it off completely, I can do that as well. I'm going to come down through the other side of the wire guard and let that hang out there and repeat on the other side. till I'm back in and finish with that same pattern coming out the wire guard, both sides on each other side. After you're done with your thread coming out through the wire guard, go ahead and bring your thread and needle out through that last O bead. We're going to be connecting from O bead, basically, all the way through, coming out through that RounDuo Mini, and we are going to be adding in our Samos beads. So the Samos beads are going to get added in, but they're going to sit between the Samos in the opposite direction. So when you're looking at it here, it's going to be coming out through the beads there. Once you have the thread coming out both the wire guard ends, you want to bring your thread and needle out through the O bead. We are going to bring our thread and needle out through that O bead, and we're going to get ready to add a Samos bead. The Samos bead is going to sit between the RounDuo Minis, right above the 8 Seed bead. To get to that position, I want you to go through additionally the 15, the 8 Seed bead, and out. So you're bringing it down. Add 2 15s. Then you're going to add an O bead and go through the first RounDuo Mini. Through the second hole now of the RounDuo Mini. From here, the pattern is always going to be the same. You're going to add an O bead, then an 8, then another one of your Samos beads, making sure that that Samos is going to be going in the same direction, that the flat side is down and the rounded side is up. Add an 8 and an O bead, and after that, catch on to the next RounDuo Mini second hole. Give a nice tight pull, and that'll kind of pop that up there towards the top. Again, O bead, 8, Samos, making sure you're going through the first hole and that it's flat. Down through the O bead, or sorry, the 8, then the O bead, through the next RounDuo Mini. Go ahead and add that in there, both on the right and the left side. You want to be cautious that you're only going to do 2 or 3 on one side, then do 2 or 3 on the other, so it doesn't pull one way or another. As you finish up the end of the piece here, when you're going in, and keep in mind, you can really stop at any point in this design and have a nice finished bracelet. But the last one, when you're coming to the last Samos, remember what we did on the starter side. You're going to repeat that with your 1 O bead, 2 15s, and then linking in to the 8 Seed bead that is there. We're going to use this opportunity to reinforce the clasp. So with the thread and needle that I have in my hand, which in this case right now is the left side, I'm going to sew back through the 15-0. That's here. Once I sew back through the 15-0 then, I'm going to jump over to the O bead, sew up through the O bead, up through the 8, through the 15, and through the wire guard. It's always easiest if you can do the 15 and the wire guard at the same time. What I'm going to do then is bring this thread then over to the other side, stop at the exterior of the wire guard, and then on the other side, repeat going up and reinforcing. So you're going to end up with 3 strands or 3 threads through that wire guard. Our next technique that we're going to do is add in a bunch of 15 OC beads, as well as some O beads, and connect to the top Samos. I already went through and did a little bit on the top so you could see the effect. Coming out through the 8-0, so I brought my thread down and out through the second 8-0 in the design, I'm going to add in 10 of my 15-0s. So once I have those 10 15-0s on, I'm going to add an O bead. The O bead then gets added, and I'm going to thread through the top hole of the first Samos bead. From here, we're going to repeat the entire way now, adding in a O bead, then repeat with your 10 15-0s, skip over to the next Samos and sew through the 8-0 seed bead that sits right below it. Continue on then, adding in 10 15s, adding in the O bead, connecting to the Samos. So you're going to end up with every other connection point as we go down along the piece. So once you come to the end and you are finished and done, what you're going to do is go into that second to last 8-0 as well as the 15 right after it. That's going to finish up that nice kind of crisscrossing design. When you're coming through there and you have that nice crisscrossing design, something to keep in mind is if you want to use one less bead and want to keep this to the design, you can use a round bead in place, a 5mm round bead in place of the second Samos bead. The other thing to keep in mind is that you do want an odd count as you're going through, so I ended up with 15 beads, which would give you 13 sets of my triples. Here at the end, we need to get back basically to this 8-0 seed bead. What I'm going to do is go through the Samos bead with my needle and thread that was coming from the bottom there. Go through it the opposite direction to get to that first hole. And when you're going through and kind of getting through the beads and getting back into place, what you want to think about is the fact again of how to get to that position and how to get there without it being obvious and seeing the thread. You're just scooting along the bottom baseline through the 15, through the 8, and out. Now what we're going to do is repeat the same thing on this outer edge, adding in 10 seed beads again, an O bead, and through our Samos till we get to the very, very end here and skirt back into our last 8-0 seed bead. This is going to overlap our seed beads as we work with them. As you continue with the design, you're going to notice that it looks like it is braided. I'm just going over the top with every single stitch as we go along the design. When you get to the end of the design, all you're going to do is bring the thread and the needle after coming back through that final 8 to the same side of this exact spot right here and tie the 2 thread ends in a knot to finish up this Samos Isle Bracelet, which is a really beautiful design, and I can't wait to see it in some of the different colors that you guys choose. Thanks so much for joining me in making this Samos Isle Bracelet. Remember that you can make your own and choose different colors, have fun creating different color combos, and making a couple changes if you want. Try adding bugles to the top. That might make a really, really cool effect. Comment below if you do make any changes, hit that little subscribe button on the right, and share this with someone that you think would love the design. Remember, you can also stay connected with us by joining our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. As always, thank you so much for watching and enjoy your own Samos Isle Bracelet.